Thank you, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. An attractive 21-year-old woman was brutally, criminally assaulted and murdered.
This is what San Antonio television news looked like in its infancy.
As the police were racing to the scene of the crime tonight, our WOAI sound-on-film camera crews and reporters were racing to the street to capture the first-hand impression.
Through the years, some parts of the business have changed quite a bit, while other better ideas have stood the test of time.
I'm an oldie, as you know. I'm full grown, and I like to look back a little bit. And many of the people that I worked with, the anchors, I've worked with about 100 different anchors, and we've all stayed in contact, those who are still alive. Some of my old friends have gone on their way and gone to the big newsroom in the sky.
Born and raised in Waco, Jim has lived in San Antonio since 1946, but it was 10 years later, in 1956, that Jim Dawson became a San Antonio household name and started a TV career that has lasted an incredible 27 years.
1956, in August, a complete accident.
What was it?
Well, Henry Howe walked over one day.
And I really needed a man for night weather on TV.
I was working for the Buick Company there on 5th and Broadway.
I just walked over there after I got off the air and had a talk with Jim.
And he said, "You like to talk so well." He said, what did you do in the Air Force? And I told him I'd been in the service, and I told him I was a weatherman.
Took 2 or 3 visits where I convinced him enough to take an audition.
Jim's weather qualifications were unquestionable after having spent World War II as an Air Force weatherman. Uncle Sam was apparently so impressed that he was called back for an encore during the Korean War. But a TV weatherman needed to have some other skills, too.
You've got to be an extrovert, and he is. And his audition went well.
When I finished, I had done 4 or 5 minutes of weather for them on the tape. And he said, "Where'd you get all this information?" And I told him I just made it all up. And he turned to Mr. Half and said, "That's the man we need, the man who can just sit there and make it up."
Jim's wife of 38 years, Jean Dawson.
When this first started, I guess it was, we thought, well, maybe 6 months. You know, we had no idea how long it would go on. And, you know, it was very difficult for him to be gone every night. And, of course, our children were smalls, so that meant I was pretty well tied down. That really didn't bother me too much. And then it kept going year after year after year, and you just learn to adjust.
The Dawsons live here in their comfortable San Antonio home, where they raise their 3 children. Jean spends much of her free time with the Tuesday Musical Club, of which she is president, while Jim likes to work on the house, as well as cars, and he likes to build furniture in his spare time. And then on weekends, the Dawsons often take off on a quick trip in their airplane.
Jim Dawson brings you the Channel 12 weather. Channel 12 weather.
6 months after starting in the TV business, Jim left to go to work at a new television station here in San Antonio, Channel 12, then known as KONO-TV. And it was here that Jim hit upon what is probably the best-known feature of his weathercast.
Hey, do you know me? I've been a big star for 25 years. As Jim Dawson's cartoon character, I've captured the hearts of millions. I've made Dawson's weathercast what it is today. And
You're all wet. You're the star. They tune in to see me.
Well, you got your head in the clouds. I'm the biggest thing since Mickey Mouse.
So they want to see me.
Oh, no, they don't.
You're on. Jim Dawson, a pleasant change in the weather. Newswatch at 5 and 10.
That was in the good old days, let's say. The old days, you had very simple graphics that you used. And so one day, I'd forecast, I think, some winds for the next day. And so I had just on the right side of that blackboard with chalk, because we had put all the figures on the blackboard with chalk, I just drew a lady's leg and skirt. You know, all you could see was the leg running. She was running, and the skirt was kind of up, but not in, you know, bad taste. And the switchboard just lit up. I didn't even mention it. I just left it over there. And the switchboard just lit up. The switchboard operator said, "What did you say to get all these phone calls?"
Now, don't horse him in, honey. Just play him till he's tired.
Those cartoons are nonsense, but they're a lot of fun to do. I have a catalog of them. I have about 2,500.
Well, honey, you said let's stop and pick up a cool one.
I guess I have to say, I've always thought of Jim as one of the best weathermen I've ever worked with.
Former Channel 12 news anchor George Sharman.
I thought that he would be a wonderful asset to any program. oftentimes up in New York, I wish I'd had him up there. You know, with some of the weather people we had, they came in and out like revolving doors, but Jim has stayed.
He really didn't want to leave San Antonio. Neither one of us did, and the offers would come from Chicago, New York, Kansas City, Los Angeles, San Francisco, and
they had offered me a shot on the Today Show with Dave Garroway. And I, first of all, didn't want to go to New York City, having been there a lot, and just have a distaste for, basically, leaving San Antonio.
Near the end of 1958, Jim returned to WOAI-TV, where he started and where he remained for 21 years. But TV is a fickle business, and in 1979, it looked like Jim's TV time was running out. Back on Channel 12, Jim joined the home team, doing his evening weathercast.
The main thing is that I thoroughly enjoy doing what I'm doing, and I like to go to work. I'm just a workaholic. I thoroughly enjoy being there, and if I didn't, why, those nights that you have to work, to me, are not having to work. It's the pleasure of going to work, and that's the difference. I enjoy it.
That's the word from the channel.